Howdy, and welcome back to Communiwhat. We're on episode 4. We're going to stop keeping track of episodes here in the next few weeks because I want this to be a weekly thing. But episode 4, because we're walking through the Communiwhat framework over the last several weeks. And number 4 in the framework is what? Well, number 4 in the framework is confirmation. If confirmation does not occur, communication has not occurred. It's extremely important to understand confirmation gives you the result of, yes, I've heard and I've understood. There's nothing else needed other than me going and doing. So this is where we've worked through intent, we've worked through context, and we've worked through clarity. And today, confirmation. So, right now, when we look through the framework, Confirmation is perhaps where most communication fails. It's not really at the beginning, although intent, we've gone over that. It's not really at the end, and we'll talk about control. Where we lose communication and where it stalls the most, it's right at the end before they walk away, because there's no confirmation. You can have the right intent, you can provide all the context and be as clear as you think, but still fall flat. And why? It's because maybe you've assumed a level of understanding. You've stated all the things, and in your head, everything is great and makes sense. But something could be out of alignment. If you don't confirm it, you did not communicate it. Now, John Maxwell says something very similar, and I love it when you can take something that's said all the time and find something new in it. If you didn't confirm it, then you didn't communicate it. What that tells me is that all of your pre-work for intent, all of your pre-work for context, all of your work in this communication falls flat and doesn't work if they don't understand. So think about most conversations, how they end. You'll say what needs to be said, you'll explain it, and then you ask, does that make sense? And usually it's, yeah, totally. Like every time. Yeah, I'm good. You got it? Sure. Perfect. And everyone walks away feeling great. We got it. We think we're aligned. We think we're on the same page. But we're not. That, yeah, it's not confirmation. It's politeness. It's avoidance. It's, I don't want to look like I'm an idiot because I don't understand. And you just gave all this context and information around. There's something choosing not to slow. That's something that's choosing. It's in that choosing not to say something that breaks the communication. So if you don't understand, you nod. I could tell you from personal experience, like I don't want to be confused. I don't want to feel like I'm being left behind. I want to align and be with the team and go the direction that everyone else is going. And I don't want to challenge you, so I won't. And I'll leave this conversation, and those gaps are there. And now what happens? I start getting anxiety. I start wasting time going after answers that I think I need to complete the assignment. Everything goes sideways. And I know you've seen it. The task gets done, but it's not quite done to the expectation. So maybe the deadline gets missed, but they thought they were fine, or they didn't give you exactly what you needed, as in what we talk about Communiwhat, how it even started. Now you're frustrated. They're confused. Everyone is thinking the same thing. What just happened? I thought we were all aligned. I can give you a perfect example, real world, that happened literally this week. Group of people in a meeting, conference call together, talking about a project that has been going on for several weeks, and we have a finalized document. That document needs one more pass by the frontline team, as in this meeting, they brought up a few things that they'd like to see in said document. Great. Can you have it back to us in a day and a half? Yes, no problem. On the second full day, there is no document, to which my response is, where's the document? To which their response is, can we have a meeting? A meeting about what? I thought we all understood. How did this happen? I teach communication, and it still happens. There is a level of onus on the receiver to state, no, I don't understand. But they need to be able to do that in a space that's safe, where you're not going to attack them for not listening, or I just said XYZ. What you've just done is reiterate to them why they don't question. So, yeah, we need to ask, is there anything else within this that you need to make sure that you understand the directive? The confirmation answers the question. Did they understand the way I intended, right? Not did they hear me, or did they agree, or did they understand it the way I meant it? So we have to change the way that we confirm, and we have to stop saying, does that make sense? We have to stop saying, you got it? You have to stop saying, we good? This long pause is because I just ran through a few more that I heard in my head, and the response inevitably is always yes, yes, yes. But if your question is not simply, does that make sense? If your question is, can you walk me through what you just heard to make sure I'm explaining this properly? What have you just done? The same thing that you'll do by saying this instead. Tell me how you're going to approach this. I'm interested to know your take. Or even, what is your next steps? Think about those questions for a second. Walk me through what you just heard. Tell me how you're going to approach this. What's your next step? If you're asking those questions genuinely from a place of, I want you to succeed and have all the tools for you to succeed, that person's going to respond in kind. They're going to respond in a way that you know they're not guessing. You know they're confident in their skills and what they know to be able to do this task. That is going to show alignment in real time. It's going to pull out in that question, that response is going to pull out where you, as the leader, as the giver of the instruction, are going to be able to improve. Because when they reply, yes, I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y, and I'm going to do Z. And you realize, wow, I did miss a part. So now, what are we conversing? Are we having communication? Absolutely, we are. Absolutely. And I want you to think about that, right? Like, when was the last time that something went wrong, that you know it wasn't effort, that it was some small misunderstanding that potentially could have very easily been avoided had that question been asked perhaps in that way? Not, does that make sense? But what? Tell me how you're going to approach this. I'm interested to know your take. Again, you just opened the floodgates for them to ask any more questions. You provided them the opportunity and the space to tell you exactly what you just asked them to do. Here's what confirmation does. It catches the problem early, right? Before the deadline gets missed, because they're way too busy trying to figure out what they're supposed to do, before the frustration or even anxiety sets in, and before there is rework. And I'm going to say it clearly. Confirmation does not slow down. Confirmation does not slow down the communication. It saves you time by investing on the front end. Because fixing something later, we all know, takes longer and costs more. So what's the challenge today? Because if we can make this applicable, right, that we could take away right now, how do we do this? Well, we've already talked about the confirmation of what someone hears. Are we good? That's not a good response. That's not a good way to find out if they heard and if they understood. Are we good? Everyone agree? What are you assuming that you're understanding without checking it? Where in that are you assuming in your conversations? Do you have a conversation maybe you had today, yesterday, this week, where I made an assumption that they understood, I sure hope they understood. You're taking a second look at it, right? Where are you trusting the yeah in response to where were some of the questions I said earlier, right? Uh, oh my goodness, I lost the question list. Are we good? That's the one, right? Does that make sense? That's the one we keep saying. Does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. We know it doesn't make sense. Where are you trusting that someone is responding? Yeah, when you ask, does that make sense? Where are you trusting instead of verifying the alignment? Yeah, that's the gap. Confirmation is the gap. If it's not confirmed, communication did not happen. So instead of asking the questions, are we good? Do we agree? Don't ask those questions. They're going to inevitably be yeah. Ask the questions. Can you walk? I'd love to know how you're going to walk through this because I know you've got a skill set I don't. See, what you're doing is you're inserting value into that conversation simply by asking them to repeat the instructions. You're saying the things that create space to fill the gap. And that is the Communiwhat moment for today. Communication is not what you say, it's what is understood. And confirmation is how you prove it. I really appreciate several people jumping on during this live today. The comments are open. If you'd like to talk about communication or if you'd like to engage on something you're working through and would like to have this angle on what you're working with, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. But I'm going to keep talking a little bit longer because some of you may not know how Communiwhat even started. So Communiwhat occurred back in April of 2010. I was a new supervisor working for a major Fortune 500 telecommunications company, and I thought I knew what I was doing. I was in a meeting, and during this meeting with several of us, we were given a directive. That directive I took back to my desk. I did the report. I did all the things I thought I was supposed to do. Within a week, I returned to a meeting, and the individual director had ended up providing the same set of instructions to another individual, unbeknownst to me. Both of us appeared at this meeting. Both of us had the wrong result that the director was looking for. I immediately marched back to my desk after getting chewed out and wrote on my whiteboard in my supervisor cubicle, communication in red. I was so mad in red, you know. And I sat down and I looked at it and I said, this is terrible. And I scratched out cation and I wrote what? And it clicked. Communication isn't happening. Communiwhat is happening. Anytime there's any question, that's Communiwhat, not communication. And that's where I began trying to come up with some framework, some way to help me be better at communication. How do I make myself a better communicator? And then how do I be that example and share that knowledge by example in my communication? And then others taking from it would always be the hope, right? But that's how Communiwhat started. 2010, young 20-something-year-old supervisor thinking he could solve the problems of the world. I would think and I would hope that if you look back on legacy of leadership, which we'll talk about in Communiwhat at some point, because being a great communicator is a huge, huge impact to your legacy as a leader. Yeah. So thank you all for joining today. Don't see anyone asking any questions, and that is fine. We'll pop up the Communiwhat framework one more time and go through each of these before we close out. Number one, intent. Why? Why am I communicating this? Number two, context. What do they need to understand this communication correctly? And number three, clarity. Clarity is kindness. Have I made this simple enough and actionable? And number four, which we talked about today, confirmation. Did they understand it the way in which I intended? And then number five, that's the reflection point, right? Like, am I leading in this moment, or am I just reacting to this moment? And then we start it all over. So if you'd like to know more about me and all the work I do, you can head on over to dmilm.com or follow me on the various social platforms, because I am all over the place. At Dr. Dana Martin. You'll find that on Twitter and YouTube, Facebook, all the stuff and things. There is a book called 1 Minute Wins, Volume 1. Take control of your growth journey 1 minute at a time. It is available on Amazon. There is a partner podcast to that. While the book, literally 1 minute per lesson, the podcast takes each of those lessons and fleshes it out to a 10, roughly up to about 10-minute deep dive into whatever that 1 minute win was. And the 1 minute wins are one quote, one action, one lesson, just to get you moving and in being intentional about your own growth. Lastly, I do have a newsletter, and you can sign up for that newsletter. Dun, dun, dun. Be the example newsletter. 1 minute. I'm big on the quickness, right? Everything has to be quick. So 1 minute, it's about a 1 minute read. There is, again, a quote, same kind of format, just takes about 2-3 minutes to get through. But man, I'm passionate about sharing what I have, and I appreciate anyone that has been paying attention. Take it with you and insert it into and embed it in your day-to-day, whether you're talking with family, friends, doesn't matter. Professional, the more you practice, the better you become at it, whether that's pushing weights, running sprints, or practicing communication. So thank you all for joining. We'll see you all next week on Communiwhat podcast. Communiwhat Wednesday.